C Addison Price for Tuesday, October 28th, and we're a 2025, of course. We're a presentation of Bet365, coming to you from the Pacific Toyota dealer studio here at the historic Wall Center. Visit shoptoyota.ca or visit your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. Matt C Addison alongside Blake Price, four-time Juno Award winner Mike Rogerson, hitting switches, conducting things with intern Hayden Stewart. I got one question.
Okay.
Isn't this fun?
Just meat on the bone every single day.
Isn't this what you live for when you follow sports?
I was exhausted, though, when I woke up this morning. I did not have a beer last night. I watched 6 hours of baseball.
Not a single beer.
Not a single beer. And I woke up, I was like, I got over 7 hours at least. Like, it wasn't the end of the world. I got 7 hours of sleep. No beers, and I was like, I feel like I have run a marathon and I'm hungover all at the same time.
Did you make it through all 18 innings last
did,
night? Yeah.
Begrudgingly. But I knew the end was coming. Like, with that Jays lineup and the tired arms, like, it could only have gone so much longer.
Pop gun offense, you knew it was going to take.
Long, deep outs for the Dodgers late. Mm-hmm. It was happening.
And then you wake up this morning, and it's the JT Miller return game.
Oh, boy. It is on.
And we were talking earlier. We either need a really quick baseball game like Yamamoto on both teams quick.
Yeah.
Or we need a blowout baseball game. So, 10-2, okay.
10-2 in the seventh. I'm comfortable leaving that to focus on the Canucks.
Exactly.
So if they could abide, that would be super.
Yep. And then I don't know about you, but as much as I look forward to the games in the here and now and day of, I'm also buoyed by the fact, like, look what else we've got coming the rest of the week,
Well,
you got another World Series game tomorrow. You have playoff games for the Caps and Lions on the weekend.
Let me ask you this, though. If we were elsewhere, didn't have Lions and Whitecaps as our dangling carrot, we'd probably be pretty excited about 16 NHL games today. Did the NHL not have the Major League Baseball calendar in front of them when they decided to do it today?
Or did they not care? Did they think that this was good counter programming?
Oh, I don't know.
The problem for the NHL is you have two national teams in the World Series.
Do it next week. Next, 1 week further, you are clear of the World Series.
Building availability, television, blah, blah, blah.
I guess.
The Redwoods Golf Course poll question today: how should the Rogers Arena crowd treat JT Miller tonight? You can vote boos, you can vote cheers. Do so at the C Addison Price X and YouTube channels. Blake Price, what says you?
And let's be clear, folks. There's not middle ground here. There isn't.
I think there's middle ground.
Yeah? What's the middle ground?
So here's my take. Pay your ticket, express yourself as you see fit, so long as it's in a respectful manner. He was a great Canuck on the ice. He was a divisive force behind the scenes. He will get a video tribute tonight, at which point applause is appropriate for the efforts and energies he put in 6-7 years as a Vancouver Canuck. He is also a member of the New York Rangers. They are the enemy tonight, the opponents. You are allowed to boo villains, both real and perceived. So go ahead and boo him when he touches the puck. I think both reactions are appropriate.
You're going to cheer him for the tribute and then boo him when he touches the puck?
Yeah. I see nothing wrong with that. I do not see a dissembly there, Blake.
You're allowed to, of course, but I just think
it's complicated.
That's a weird
life is gray
paradox.
No.
Yeah, it is. I mean, like 79.
You're allowed to be appreciative of the history.
Yeah.
and also cast him in the villain's light tonight.
But probably 39 home games go by where there is a team on the other side that you do not boo when a certain player touches the puck.
Because you don't have an emotional connection to that
But
player.
according to your logic, the emotional connection you have is to a player that played his heart out for his team.
Right.
So,
And also was somewhere between an antagonist and a bully for one of the best players on the team.
But that should be a boo then, from the get-go. I don't get the middle ground.
Mixed emotions, mixed feelings. We encounter them all the time in human life.
Yeah, but in fandom, not usually as much. Usually it's tribal, and you're in one camp or you're in the other.
So we asked a poll question in the summer when it became clear that JT Miller was a candidate to be the New York Rangers captain. And we asked Canucks fans what they thought about that. Mm-hmm. And as I recall, I forget if it was the majority, but it was a significant percentage that basically said, move on. He's not a Canuck anymore. I don't care. And so I think you've got a lot of fans who cheer their hearts out for players when they're in Canucks colors and disassociate relatively quickly once they're gone. And I think they especially disassociate after that player has come back to Rogers Arena and played his first game here in Vancouver with his new team. That becomes some sort of watershed, that you get your moment of closure and that both sides are able to move on.
That sounds like a person that boos to me.
You voted boos?
I voted boos. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's
well,
enough
and the
evidence.
thing is, he plays the villain so well. Yeah. I imagine that the boos will outshine the cheers tonight at Rogers Arena.
And he's one guy. Like if it was reversed and Elias Pettersson was coming back, let's say they had chosen to keep Miller, and like when Pettersson comes back, no one's booing Pettersson.
Yeah.
Well, it would just feel mean.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel mean to boo Miller. It doesn't.
And we'll say this, he certainly still has his constituency amongst Canucks fans. I'm looking at the results of the poll question in the early going here, and cheering is outpacing booing. I can get that as well. He is a unique and forceful personality. A lot of people like to express their own identity through different sports teams or sports players that they feel a kinship with, akin to. And I completely understand that. For a lot of Canucks, he was the Canucks fans. He was the hard-nosed, give no inch, don't give a shit, pugnacious, tough guy that this organization needed, on top of being a very good scoring forward as well.
The one warning
for others, he was just incapable of getting along with other people behind the scenes. At some point, you have to be a coworker who can work with others amicably. He did not achieve that, and thus he's the villain, and thus he's the reason why last season went south, and why Elias Pettersson has had some of his struggles.
The one warning I will give, if you do choose to boo, there is the risk it may make him better.
The Novak Djokovic,
yes,
if you will.
I think he may thrive in that atmosphere.
He very well might.
And you may spur him on to be that much better. Just a warning.
I think that's possible.
Yeah.
Mike, what says you? Want to go to you on this one. You're a big Canucks fan. What are you doing tonight if you're at the rink? You cheering, you're booing?
I'm booing. Yeah, I'm booing. I appreciate the contribution that he made, but he was a huge asshole.
There is that too.
Yeah.
Right?
He was also an asshole to my 6-year-old daughter once. So.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh.
In person, yeah.
Okay. Didn't realize there was a personal brush
wow, okay.
with JT. The JT Miller scrum is actually going on as we speak. So
just finished.
We are going to get some of JT's comments here into the program as we get going here in this first block.
Per our Jeff Patterson, it was good.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to that.
Well, that's the other thing, is he does love the attention.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, he does.
He will pretend like he doesn't like the attention, but you know he loves the attention. Reminds of Another brash, brazen.
Yeah, it does,
Canucks
doesn't it? Who's also
forward of years past, who will also feature in this opening block of the program. First, let me tell you about our friends at the Redwoods, who have custom corporate events available to you, whether it's team building, networking, what have you. These packages can include golf lessons if you're so inclined, and you're saying to me, Maddie, it's cold, it's rainy. No. They have the big, heated, covered range, so plenty of opportunity, space, and a comfortable environment to work on the game, plus food and beverage component if you're so inclined. Also, the private and semi-private lessons for your children ages 6 to 16. Set them up for the sport of a lifetime. They are flexible to your schedule. Get more information, redwoods-golf.com. Let's get to our top story. It's brought to you by Yellow Dog Brewing, Neighborhood Brewing, Foolish Winery. The day is here, the most anticipated regular season game in years. J.T. Miller is in the building as his New York Rangers face the Canucks at Rogers Arena tonight. The former Canuck comes limping in with the blue shirts. They are 3-5-2, second from the bottom in the Eastern Conference, and coming off desultory losses to Calgary, San Jose, and Minnesota. His old nemesis, Elias Pettersson, whom he could not coexist with, is finding his game, coming off a 4-point weekend, his most encouraging signs since last March, if not last December. And I know many of you are delighting in the discourse that is going on about JT Miller and the Rangers these days. I see prolific Canucks tweeter Chester Ming busy in the NYR JT mentions, looking for a sampling of the commentary about Miller and his team this week. Take a look at this. Why was he ever named captain? Does he own a mirror? And onwards and onwards, another garbage captain, and onwards it goes. Rangers fans are ornery, and so is JT. This one account, NYR Louie, the most Ranger thing ever is to put JT Miller in a trade as a throw-in right before he hits his prime. That was, of course, the deal that sent him to Tampa many years ago. Watch 8 seasons of prime JT. Trade a lottery first plus for him after his prime ends. Conclusion, being a Rangers fan is miserable.
That is strange, right? They
had this guy.
Him. Yeah, they jettison him during his prime years, have him for his finding his way early years and his over-the-hill down years. Mm-hmm. Questionable tactics.
Well, but also JT showed a lot of growth, and he talked about it when he got here to Vancouver. Our old friend Alain Vigneault used to say he's got so much skill, and he's going to be a great AHL player. And if he dedicates himself to being the best pro he can be, he's going to be a great NHL player. Didn't happen in Tampa. Was a deep lineup. Found his way here in Vancouver where he got more opportunity and talked about it, that he needed to step up and change some things about the way his career was going, and to his infinite credit, he did. He became an outstanding player here, a goal scorer, a playmaker, a power play weapon, a face-off guy, a leader, even if his leadership wasn't always appreciated in every corner of the room. And look, it's early season for the Rangers. It's early season for JT Miller. If you told me at the end of it all he would be a 70-point guy and that the Rangers would be playoff competitive, I would not bat an eyelash.
Let's add this to the intricacies of tonight's game. Fans can decamp however they want. The truth of the matter is, for the most part, I think he probably had more allies than foes inside the Canucks dressing room.
I think that's right.
The interesting part about tonight's game, though, is the mediator, the peacemaker, often, I think, inside the room, was Quinn Hughes. He will not be in the lineup tonight.
Yep.
And with him gone, does that allow nature's emotions to sort of go in a certain direction, or ultimately do guys like Connor Garland and others
Garland and JT
who
were
are
close.
friends,
Yep.
does that still tamp things down and ultimately keep this just a hockey game?
Yeah.
We'll see.
Remember Pat Quinn once saying, they're all brothers now. He talked to me, he said they're all union brothers now. And he talked about how in his day, original six in the NHL, like you hated the other guys. You didn't socialize with the other guys. There was no, I'll meet you in the hallway before the game or after the game.
If they saw each other in public spaces, they would ignore each other for
Exactly.
the most part. Now, I think
It's different now.
For the most part, it's different. Absolutely.
And it is more
but not
civil,
always.
and quite frankly, it is only just a game. I mean, it's their profession, but at the end of the day, they're getting paid win or lose. No, I think that's a fair point to make, is the fact that Quinn Hughes is not going to be on the ice tonight take a peacemaker out of the equation, or does his absence mean that JT can go a little bit harder at his ex-mates?
Or do his ex-mates, the ones that weren't in his corner,
That's
allow
right.
their emotions to run wild a little bit more without El Capitan around?
Canucks fans feeling good about the club's choice, though, at the moment to keep Pettersson over Miller through 2 games. Pettersson, 3 goals, 5 assists, +3. JT, 2 goals, 4 assists, -4. Of course, he remains 6 years younger. That is not going to change. Let's hear from Pettersson on matching up with JT tonight.
No, JT, an unbelievable player. He plays hard, and if I get matched up with him tonight, I'm gonna try to be the winning side of it. Yeah, he's a really good power forward. Plays with skill, plays hard, and he's trying to take away time and space for him.
Said all the right things. JT spotted sharing a meal with Adam Foote, Quinn Hughes, with both teams having the day off yesterday. And as Blake says, he still, I would suspect, has a big constituency in the Canucks room. And of course, in some ways, this game has to be a watershed. He'll have come back, taken his bows and his lumps. And while there is a return affair at MSG in December, the Canucks have to move on from the Elias JT feud after this one. If there is any residual, and they talked in training camp about clean slate, fresh new year, fair enough. But, this game dangled as a very, very big reminder of all that has gone on. So if there is any lingering, I think it has to go away for the benefit of Adam Foote and his team for the rest of the season and beyond. The question, are they going to come together tonight? It was a very muted Four Nations game between the USA and Sweden. Elias was probably in the depths of his struggles last year when that took place. They met again thereafter with the Canucks hitting up MSG and the Rangers in March, and that was the game that Elias left with an injury. So, are they going to come together? And, of course, we know Elias Pettersson isn't going to fight. But will another Canuck square up JT on Elias's behalf? That is kind of what I'm wondering.
Evander Kane wasn't around, so he doesn't care, doesn't have a dog in the fight. I don't see it. I don't see who the candidate is on the Vancouver Canucks side of things.
He for sure would?
I don't think so. I don't see that.
He's too valuable as a goal scorer these days. His hands are more required on a stick shooting pucks.
Doesn't make any sense
than punching somebody.
For a sort of some pet peeve sort of moment, no. And overall, as you said, the Canucks cannot, as an organization and as a group of players, mourn sort of the departure too much here. This is a guy who's going to turn 33 in the middle of the season here, not in the middle, but during the season, he's turning 33. Generally, when you get rid of even a former star player at 33, that's a sort of a savvy time to jettison such a player. So could he have been a valuable Vancouver Canuck for another year or two? Yes, but you don't often get to choose those sorts of exit moments for players past the age of 30. And this Vancouver Canucks team on the whole is better off in its current state than had they been the other way around. Now, again, a 40-point Elias Pettersson would have changed that equation, but if what we're seeing here of late is proof that those days are long gone, then, I mean, it's unequivocal that the Canucks are in better shape, both in the room and on the ice.
Okay, we're going in cold here, but we do have these JT Miller comments available. Mike, I'm going to throw to you here. This is JT talking about what?
First one up here is, let's see, we got returning to Rogers Arena.
All right, here's Miller.
Yeah, like a lot of good memories here. Some of my best friends still play on the other side. The way that the city treated myself and my family, it's something we'll never forget. Like I said, this building in particular, and a couple games, a couple playoff series was memories that we'll definitely remember. So definitely a special place.
He has always been pure class in terms of talking about the city, the province, Canucks fans, the way he was treated. He absolutely loved the JT Miller thing. Absolutely loved it.
And he's a North Shore guy. I never bumped into him, but I know he's like 1 degree of separation from a lot of people that I do know, and they all said, "Oh, he's just great.
Yep.
I love him and his wife and blah blah blah." So,
yep,
that part of him.
Natalie, his wife, and their kids, and they posted about their life here, often adorably, with the little ones. We got more comments. Mike, here's JT on
the emotions of playing his old best friends.
Yeah, it's going to be emotional for me, no doubt. Just trying to worry about our task at hand for the Rangers. I know that emotion's going to be there. Just going to try to use it to the best of my ability as I can. Try to stay focused.
Good honesty on him. Yeah, how could it not be emotional? He was voted off the island here. He was empowered early last season to whip Pettersson and others into shape, given a voice. He overstepped his bounds there, and then he was the one that had to go. And ultimately, he recognized that as well and asked Canucks management if he could move him on, see a fit. He'd appreciate the Rangers.
I mean, you can bet when he signed that contract, he probably figured, I may not retire,
But
as
he
a
had
Canuck,
outlasted Bo, right? They chose him over Bo Horvat, so he had every right to think that at the time.
And he had 4 years of a no-move clause, so he had to believe at least the next 4 years I'm a Vancouver Canuck. And that world came shattering down around him as it all went down.
All right, Mike, what's next here?
Next, what do we got here? We got playing it against Petey.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
I mean, it's going to be like all the rest of them. They have a really good line. And I know that they've been putting some pucks in the net, so nothing changes for me. We have a job to do against them. I'm sure it's the same conversation. If we don't check and play the right way, it's going to be easier on the other line. So just like any other game.
Yeah, that one I'm not so sure.
Kept it to hockey.
Yeah.
X's and O's.
Yes.
You know what? It's
not saying it's Pinocchio, but I do believe his nose grew in that clip.
It's a fast game. I mean, how many times will he actually be able to, not exact revenge, I'm not suggesting that. How many times will he actually have an ability to singularly affect the play of Elias Pettersson? I mean, it may not ever happen in tonight's game.
Nope.
You just never know.
That said, I think if the opportunity presents itself to hit Elias Pettersson, I think he is going to take every opportunity. I think it hurts him a whole lot that the organization chose Pettersson over him. And frankly, I think at least in the case of Rick Tocchet and Jim Rutherford, that they were firmly Team JT until he had his tantrum after that benching against Nashville last November. I think JT felt like he had a broad constituency, if not the majority of Canucks players in that room on his side, that Elias didn't show up in great shape last year, that was something that needed to be addressed, that was something that needed to change in order for Elias to be his best and the Vancouver Canucks to be their best. I think Patrick Allvin has spoken to this countless times, so did Tocchet and Rutherford. I think at this time last year, Blake, we were talking about a very empowered individual who felt like he had a lot of room, a lot of leash to go out and run the room as he saw fit. And it all came crashing down that Grey Cup Sunday, following his benching against the Predators and his reaction thereafter.
Well, let's hear. We have one last clip to play on how it all ended.
And everything happens. You can't go back and change anything. Obviously, it's ugly sometimes at the end, but I think for the majority of the time I was here, it's been all positive. It's been a lot of good things, and I'm not going to sit here and dwell over the way it ended. I didn't expect that to be pretty, and it wasn't. But definitely still a lot of friendship and a lot of good memories and a lot of good things that came from that experience. So I'm happy.
Good answer. Yeah, didn't expect it to be pretty, and it wasn't. No, that's fair enough.
For anybody,
doesn't tend to end pretty for athletes.
For anybody that's still holding on to the sliver of, it wasn't as big as you guys thought. Like, listen to him. It was ugly.
All their bosses.
Oh, yeah, they keep saying it.
I mean, they lied to us, but their bosses eventually came to the truth.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. I mean, it's a smart market. You got to level with it. All right.
Let's tell you about the fabulous, brand new, fresh hop beers of the season for Yellow Dog. I'll unveil one each of the next few days.
Oh, wow. The big reveal with Blake Price.
The Alpha Dog Fresh Hop Pale Ale.
Alpha Dog on JT Miller night. Does that not?
It does.
Well done, Blake.
It hits just so. Strong hits of grapefruit, melon, and lime. Ooh, yummy. Followed by a crisp mouthfeel, hoppy bitterness. It will have you begging for more. More years with the Vancouver Canucks.
Canucks reeling on defense, where Captain Quinn Hughes will miss the second straight game. It's a lower body injury. He'll be reevaluated tomorrow, see if he can go on this 3-game road trip, which starts Thursday in St. Louis. Victor Mancini also can't go tonight after leaving Sunday's game against Edmonton. That has produced a flurry of roster moves from the Vancouver Canucks. Mancini placed on IR, that is retroactive to October 26th. Derek Forbert, after suffering that setback following the maintenance day, I'm being kind, has been placed on LTIR retroactive to October 11th. I mean, that's 17 days ago. And Tom Willander has been recalled from Abbotsford. In fact, the 2023 first-round pick of your Vancouver Canucks will make his NHL debut tonight, skating on the right side of the third pair with Pierre-Olivier Joseph. D. Petey, Elias Pettersson elevated up to the second pair with Tyler Myers. Marcus Pettersson replacing the Captain Hughes on the first pair with Philip Roenick.
It says a lot.
Funny part is Myers, Roenick, those two right side top pair very close with JT. They were very close with JT. In fact, I think Roenick was probably his closest friend on the team. Mm-hmm. And it will be very interesting to see if any of them come together in tonight's game.
Roenick, the only guy within arm's reach on the bitterness scale in that room, so that stands to reason that those two were birds of a feather.
Bitsy brothers.
Yes. But the Canuck defense core, I mean, you lose Quinn Hughes, it's Quinn Hughes. He's one of a kind. But does anyone see the top four on tonight's lineup and go, oh, I'm scared? I don't. Like, they're better with Hughes. I'm not suggesting different. But the fact that they can still ice a top four, that you're like, I'm totally comfortable with that.
That is a pretty representative top four defense. Yes, it is.
No problem with it.
Missing a superstar, but as we talked about yesterday, given how deep they are or should be in the goal prevention department with that blue line and those two goaltenders, it's actually the injuries at center ice and not even to the top dog there, Elias Pettersson, that I think you can argue are bigger competitive bridges to cross for the Canucks than losing Hughes, if in fact it is just a brief period here without Quinn Hughes.
Yes.
We talk about this all the time in the NHL. You lose a superstar player, it is not uncommon to see a team really rally and respond to that. Everybody understands the stakes. Everybody pulls on the rope together. Sometimes it even creates a bit of a change in terms of the way the team plays and more people get involved, more puck touches. We'll talk about that in a second. It's just over the long period of time typically where the superstar's absence becomes the issue. He didn't have a lot to say in this clip, but let's hear from Tom Willander. And boy, Blake, this would have been a pretty big story for Canuck Nation if it's not happening in this game, right?
Yes.
If this happens Thursday in St. Louis, this is the headline going into the game.
But he's on home ice, comforts of the surroundings, and good on him.
Here's Tom.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Good team. A lot of people in the stands. I think it's going to be good.
He wasn't particularly verbose this morning, which is understandable for a rookie caught in the tally lights of his first big scrum. We do know Tom to be a pretty thoughtful and good communicator, though. Over the couple of years that he's been in the Vancouver Canucks organization, he went on to say that playing the same system in Abbotsford with the baby Canucks was helpful. Getting those reps should be helpful for him tonight because it is the same the way Manny is playing. He said being called up last week and spending some time around the team, even if he didn't get into a game, was helpful. And he also talked long game, saying he wanted to learn a lot tonight from playing against top players and being better for the experience. And we've had this narrative around Tom Willander for the few years we've known him. Look, it is pretty rare for a young Swedish hockey prospect to make the jump over to North America, let alone to make the jump over to the collegiate ranks in the NCAA. But as we learned, Willander's a little bit of his own man there. I think you're talking about a smart kid, a book smart kid, an intelligent kid, a kid who didn't just want to advance his hockey development, but was looking for life experience and beyond. And so it was a different road to the NHL for Willander at Boston University for those 2 seasons. And, of course, he would have loved if they had been able to sign him and drop him into the Abbotsford Canucks lineup last year. It didn't come to pass. Alas, it didn't hurt them competitively. They won the Calder Cup. And he is known as a guy who is a pretty mature two-way hockey player, a fantastic skater, a guy who can handle the puck. And so this could be the beginning of something special for that Canucks blue line.
I think it's helpful that he comes in as a third pairing guy. He doesn't have to show his offensive wares too much. If he makes great outlet passes, that's great. But, him pinching down the wall is not going to be required here tonight. He can play it a lot more safely. I think he's got more offensive.
Foot wants more of that in the
general
right scenarios,
role,
yes.
But I think tonight he will probably be a little bit more conservative. I still think I think there's an outside chance this is a 40-point defenseman in his peak years in the National Hockey League. I've got higher offensive hopes than others do for this kid. But he's in a position to succeed tonight at the very least. And all these little sneak peeks and visits to the dressing room on call-ups where he doesn't even play games all helps to create comfort for a young player. And incidentally, by the way, the Swedes to the NCAA thing, we have yet to have an NIL year where there's a highfalutin Swedish prospect. Do we see one that
enough.
comes in and makes $1 million as a
NCAA freshman?
Yeah, you never know.
Mentioned it earlier, but we talked to J-Pat yesterday about the Canucks deferring sometimes when Quinn Hughes is on the ice, that they tend to play a more balanced game when he's absent. We got a super chat about that yesterday, and for those of you watching on YouTube, just know that super chat button is always available to you. Hit it, make your donation, partial proceeds, half proceeds to the BC Mental Health Foundation. In fact, we sent the BC Mental Health Foundation a check earlier this week from last year's. This is Brybeck who says, if they do play more balanced without Hughes, we could improve the team's future if he does decide to leave. And
I saw it in the chat today as well. Folks, like Connor McDavid does demand the puck a lot more on the Edmonton Oilers. It does not mean the Edmonton Oilers would be like, yeah, we're okay if McDavid leaves. They're superstars. Yeah, they have the puck more. Mm-hmm. That's not a detriment to the team. When you have superstars, that's a good thing.
I think what Brybeck is getting at, and look, this is a conversation for down the road as early as this year's trade deadline, if not next summer, but there is a good trade to make for Quinn Hughes if becomes apparent that he wants to go play with his brothers in New Jersey, or he does not believe the Canucks can build a Stanley Cup contender and asks out.
It is possible that a good trade can be made for Quinn Hughes. Absolutely. It is not a guarantee. The Canucks are losing leverage with the Quinn Hughes brothers reunification thoughts out there. So you would hope that there's a good trade out there, but
you are looking. We've talked about it in the past. Similar situation with Erik Karlsson and the Ottawa Senators. He wanted out. They did not have great leverage. They made a hell of a trade with San Jose. It delivered them Josh Norris and Tim Stützle, their top two centers, as it turned out. They then turned Norris into Dylan Cousins. So there is a channel to run there for Canucks management if it comes to that. Mm-hmm. Forward lines remain the same, with newcomer Lukas Reichel still at center, playing his third Canucks game in between Brock Besser and Evander Kane. Another Super chat. This is Jeff Godley. Thank you, Jeff. Hoping in a few years journalists will do a one-on-one sit-down with JT and EP40 and ask them why they chose to publicly deny the feud. Well, I mean, I think I can answer that to some degree, Jeff. People in officialdom lie to you all the time. All the time. And that includes sports as well. They don't tend to want to bring the public into the back rooms with their dirty laundry.
Well, just pointing
I think they were both scared to discuss the feud publicly. I think they both hoped it would just go away naturally, and that wasn't the case. Am I missing something?
Well, you just
here?
missed the back half where he said when everyone else in the organization was openly acknowledging it. That was the peculiar part, was that we had already heard it from management and from coaching that it was an issue, and the players kept denying it.
Well, I think, A, they were rooted in position, and B, it is particularly difficult to acknowledge that, yes, I have been lying to you for a long time.
Well, the other thing I would say about why that happens
tend
is
to be put into those circumstances. They have a lot of enablers and people who accommodate them. And so for them to actually have to be introspective, look in a mirror, and then be accountable to a greater public outside their dressing room or their team employer is a very unusual set of circumstances for athletes. And I think that's why both carried on with the farce that everything was fine between them.
I think it's also much easier for coach and management to call spade a spade when they do not have to stare across the room at the foe. I think it's a preservation of peace thing in the moment. They don't know how it's going to end. They can't make the trade happen. That's up to others. And they know they've got to stare the other guy in the eye. So the minute they give fodder for the other guy, there's an immediate comeuppance in the room. Head coaches do not spend much time in the dressing room anymore. Like, we are talking minutes of the period, pre and post game, like measured in seconds. Otherwise, coaches aren't in that room, and the managers are almost never in that room. So easier for them to talk.
Disturbing news from Michigan last night, where former Vancouver Canuck Ryan Kesler has been charged and pled not guilty to 2 counts of fourth-degree criminal sexual conduct. According to the criminal complaint, both counts allege that Kesler engaged in sexual contact with the 16-year-old, quote, through force or coercion, and or had reason to know the victim was physically helpless. Kesler posted a $50,000 bond. He must remain in his home state of Michigan. He will appear in court again on November 6th and has been suspended from his role as a youth hockey coach. His lawyer told The Athletic he is, quote, completely innocent of the charges, end quote, and, quote, when all the facts and circumstances are presented, he will be fully exonerated. The charges were filed against him in October, a couple days ago, with the alleged events happening on January 1st in Orchard Park, Michigan. Another terrible matter for the sport of hockey in the NHL. This one with a former Selke Trophy winner who played 1,001 games between the Canucks and Ducks, and of course was a significant piece, the second-line center, the defensive stopper, and a 40-goal scorer on the best Canucks teams we've ever seen.
Yeah, not much to say until the legal process has been completed. When that happens, there'll be more to say.
The other thought that crossed my mind last night, Blake, I was thinking about this story. We used to talk about Kesler and the Ring of Honor.
Oh yeah, I mean, if the legal process is any,
it's not now.
Yeah.
If he's found guilty, it's never. And even if he is found not guilty, I think it will be a long way off, if ever.
It's
and of course, that is very small potatoes and not important in the grand scheme of things. But speaking about a Vancouver Canuck player who rubbed some the wrong way and was adopted and beloved by many others, Ryan Kesler still had a very big constituency here. He was a part of the Vancouver Canucks playoff run a couple of years ago on the Siren, right, and doing a round of interviews as an alum in good standing, and I suspect all of that will end now.
Yeah, legality and taste are two different things, right? We see it with the Hockey Canada 5 that have been absolved of the charges, but not necessarily of wrongdoing in the eyes of the public. And, you know, like I'm getting ready to do the Spengler Cup again this Christmas season. There are members of that Hockey Canada 5 that are eligible for selection theoretically for a roster like that would be good additions hockey-wise. Mm-hmm. I would put odds very long that any of them are selected for that team, because I'm sure there are people that would say, nope, I don't think we've got the appetite for that. So consequences and convictions are two different things, and this just could be a one of those things that is a consequence even without a conviction. If that conviction doesn't happen, we'll see.
Yep. And he's pled not guilty, denied the charges. They haven't been proven in court. We'll see where this goes. We'll say, though, much like the Hockey Canada 5, this is a criminal matter, right? Like sometimes you have these matters come up in civil court where a worst-case scenario, you're cutting a very big check.
And an easier burden to reach there in terms of evidence.
This one is a more difficult burden of proof, but also with some very severe consequences, needless to say. The reports are out there. The Canucks are one of several teams interested in Boston centerman Pavel Zacha, our friend David Pagnotta of the fourth period, and DFO Insider Wednesdays with Irf Gaffar. Told us last week, Vancouver's been talking to Boston since the summer. It very much sounds like the Bruins have set a price, and if someone's willing to meet it, a deal could take place. Elliot Friedman reporting the Canucks are not on Zacha's 8-team no-trade list. Boston lost again last night, destroyed 7-2 in Ottawa. They are the worst team in the Eastern Conference, and needless to say, with the number of teams that are out there looking for a top center iceman, there could be a heck of a trade for Don Sweeney to make if, in fact, the Bruins are committed to a rebuild, because I think you will have some teams willing to step up and pay mighty high prices for Pavel Zacha, who's had a very nice start to the season, despite his team's losing ways.
Well, you know, if they play their cards right, like if they are going to give up, they could, get some good futures for a guy like Pavel Zacha, but they could also get rid of some other issues in the immediate. Like Casey Middlestad's not going to get you a haul, but I think somebody will happily take Casey Middlestad off of your hands still. Like, you know, and he's got almost $6 million on the cap for next season as well. Like, I get the feeling, Matt, if the Bruins are going to decide to do a rebuild, they're going to try to do one of those lacrosse bounce rebuilds where they're going to burn it to the ground, but they're going to think that they can turn it around super quick by getting cap dollars back and then investing in the future.
And Boston is a destination.
Yep.
A lot of American players grow up in Massachusetts or in the New England part of the country.
And the free agent class will be better than last year, potentially.
We'll see.
We'll see.
There's a lot of big ones out there, but
Yeah.
we anticipate a lot will re-sign. They also have Victor Arvidsson as
Coming
a
off.
UFA to be, Andrew
Yeah.
Peak on defense as a UFA to be. Farm system's a little thin after many, many years, of course, of going for it and being a playoff team. We'll see what happens there. I know there are a number of Canucks fans who aren't necessarily aboard with a Pavel Zacha pursuit. Here's Taj. Gosh, he's prolific on Canucks Twitter. Canucks have made a Zacha-type trade multiple times over the past decade, and it's one of the main reasons they're in their current predicament. It would be another trade that raises the floor but not the ceiling. It's a perfect way to stay mediocre. I understand what he is saying there. Yep, I mean, look no further than last year, right? You have to trade JT Miller out. You get Victor Mancini and the first-round pick. You redeploy the first-round pick in the Marcus Pettersson deal. And look, if you're adding Pavel Zacha, and particularly in the cap predicament they find themselves in now after the Lukas Reichel trade and getting into LTIR, you are probably going to have to subtract from the NHL lineup. Blake, it will be a little bit of robbing Peter to pay Paul. You may also have to part with a good young player who's on the verge of helping your hockey club or is helping your hockey club in a lower down the lineup role right now because of age. I understand what he's saying in terms of improving their floor, but not their ceiling. I think there's a world where it can improve the ceiling, but I hold Pavel Zacha in pretty high regard.
But they're not.
I think he's a very good.
They're not cathedral vaulted ceilings with Pavel Zacha. They are a mild postmodern tilt. You know, like he is a forward version of Marcus Pettersson, to go back to your equation there, you know, like, and it would actually be a little bit better if he's got 1 year additional. So it's this year or next for Zacha. If you're back in the position of having to re-sign this guy potentially in the summer, or it's only a year and a half rental for you, and you're going to have to give up assets for a very good player, by all means, give up the assets and stuff for a year and a half. This is a good player. This is a good player, not a very good player.
I am, I must admit, out of my depth when we're having the architectural discussion of ceilings. I am no Frank Lloyd Wright, apparently, nor am I Frank Geary. Apparently you are.
I'm a bit of a closet architect fan, yeah.
Buff?
Yeah. Big real estate fan, yeah. I can't buy it, but I like to look at it. I'm the ultimate window shopper.
He does.
Yeah.
When we got involved in real estate earlier in the year, I had a lot of questions that Blake was able to answer, actually. My parents were like, blah, 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 what about this? And I'm like, I'll ask Blake. He'll know.
I've unfortunately handed this down to my daughters.
Really?
Right down to the 14 and 50-year-old. If you bring up a house to be like, oh, the one up on blah, blah, blah?
Yeah.
That's going for
They
blah,
are
blah, blah?
all searching the listings in the Price
For homes
family
that
house.
we cannot afford.
Yeah. Rick Dollywall reporting that Nazem Kadri, who we found out thanks to Elliot Friedman, when was that, Friday or Saturday? Late last week. Because many of the publicly available contract sites, websites, showed Kadri still having a full no-move clause this year. We found out that his no-move had reverted to a 13-team no-trade list for this season, and Dollywall saying the Canucks are not on that 13-team no-trade list.
So I'm always confused by that. Not being on it is good for the Canucks if they want them?
Yes.
Right. I'm never sure if the list is the bad teams or the list is the good teams.
Sometimes, yes. More often than not, the list is the places where the player doesn't want to go.
Yeah.
So the player is okay with coming here by virtue of the fact the Canucks are not on the list.
Generally, when you have a no-move clause, but you're open to a trade, then you give a list of the green lights, right? Like if
that's if you have the full no trade or no move.
Yes.
So then you completely control the process, and you are allowed to dictate the number of markets and which markets you would accept.
Like the aforementioned Ryan Kesler
and the aforementioned JT Miller.
Yes. Yeah.
Let's get into today's menu. It's brought to you by Greta, a fantastic spot to pregame or postgame. You are mere steps from the arena or the stadium. And if you're booking an event, need a venue, team building, team party, family reunion, check out Greta. Fantastic street food. The arcade is always a fun time, a game for everybody. For more info to book your event, go to gretabar.com, Greta 50 West Cordova. Let the games begin. It's been a few weeks since we've talked to Cam Robinson. He was traveling. He got sick, poor fella. But he's back. We'll talk to him about what he expects tonight in the Rangers and the Canucks. We'll get a scouting report on Lukas Reichel. Cam's done some digging, has a new name for you on the center list, potentially available centers around the National Hockey League. And we also talk a little bit about Braden Coots, the Canucks prospect, and his battle to make the Canadian World Junior team, because this could be a legendary Canadian World Junior team with all the talent up front at forward. And then we'll talk to Tyler Zickel, the play-by-play man for the Vancouver Canadians. He is down in Los Angeles covering the World Series. He was at Dodger Stadium for, the better part of 10 hours yesterday for Game 3. Tyler's also been involved calling games in the Blue Jays organization, both here in Vancouver and at AA New Hampshire, so he knows many of the particulars, including manager John Schneider, including Vladdy and Bo, not to mention the 4 former C's that are on this Blue Jays team, Addison Barger, Trey Yesavage, chief amongst them. So great conversation with Tyler about everything that went on in that incredible, wacky, wild Game 3 from Dodger Stadium last night. We'll point forward to the Whitecaps' big playoff game in Dallas on Saturday, chance to advance to the conference semifinals, and of course the BC Lions, who host the Calgary Stampeders Saturday at BC Place in the West Division semifinal. And the tallies are in for the Canadian Football League regular season. And, so much discussion about the rules and attracting more viewers and creating more offense. Well, 2025 did really, really, really well when it came to points and touchdowns and yards. So we'll get into that story as well. It's all coming up on the program today. Time now for our Bet365 bets of the day. I should have stuck with my instinct and gone on the over last night of the baseball game. Blake, I was a little daunted, so failed there. Pick some futures instead. You were on strikeouts for Tyler Glasnow.
And I just got it. Under 5.5. He had 5. Cha-ching. I'll let you go, though, because I forget what you said. I don't want to step on your toes.
Well, I'm going a JT Miller goal. JT Miller goal tonight is plus 210, and Elias Pettersson goal tonight is plus 200. Wouldn't that be fun? Let's cheer for the story, for the narrative tonight. I'm riding with both a Miller goal and a Pettersson goal tonight in the Canucks-Rangers game.
I can do you better here. I just refreshed, and Pettersson's at plus 210 now as well.
Okay,
so
perfect.
A little bit of an uptick.
Like
even.
for like. Is there a JT Miller fight prop, Blake?
There is not.
Have you got into the depths of Bet365?
There is.
To see if there's any fisticuff prop.
I remember, folks, the Rangers are a better team on the road. They have 3 wins, just 1 loss on the road so far this season. They do score more goals on the road as well. I'm going to take the over in this game, over 5.5.
This segment, a presentation of Bet365. Whatever your bet is, never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app, get in on the game. Use code NATION when doing so. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. Cam Robinson coming up next. It's Harrison Price from the Historic Wall Center.
And this segment brought to you by your Pacific Toyota dealers and the Toyota Prius plug-in hybrid. I think you might have a vision in your head about the Prius. The first of the hybrids to really make an impact in the market. But whatever your vision is, I think you need to refresh it. I think you need to head to your Pacific Toyota dealers and ask to look at this new, beautiful vehicle. It is not your parents' Prius.
It's a specimen.
It's a virtual sports car, folks. And yet, not without its space. Put your hockey bag, your golf bags in the back with ease. Fold down middle or fold down row, back row as well, to even expand upon that space. So it is your car for doing everything. It's an EV in the city. You're going on a trip, flip on the gas, and you're making it as far as you need to make it. No range anxiety. Get the SE from $99 weekly at 3.49% APR for 64 months with $3,600 down, and that's with a $3,000 discount. Just head to shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer.
Cam Robinson is the Senior Director for Elite Prospects. We've missed him the last couple of weeks because he was traveling over to Europe, and then he got waylaid sick on the way home. So good to see you again, fella. Hope you're feeling better.
Yeah, thanks. I know it seems like it's been forever since we chatted. I guess I had a little too much fun in Sweden there, and I had to pay the price for that week when I got home.
Yeah, that's what happens when you get old, Cam. It really, really, really sucks.
The beauty of air travel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The JT Miller return game tonight, Cam, what are you anticipating?
I'm thinking we might see some fireworks. Now, I'm not going to say we're going to see him and Petey square off at center ice out of the Four Nations there right off.
Imagine.
Oh, my goodness, right? How much fun would that be? I mean, not so much maybe for Petey. That might be a bit out of his weight class. But I think JT's obviously going to be fired up. You know, the Rangers haven't been off to a very good start. He hasn't been off to a very good start offensively. He's the captain. He's supposed to be that big, loud, emotional leader. And now, coming back into, his old team where things were dicey on the way out the door, I think he is going to be ready to go. And, would I be surprised if he drops the mitts with somebody? No, I wouldn't. I think that he's going to be looking to try to get a spark early for his team and get them going.
If they lose tonight and have 3 wins in 11 games, I mean, there's nothing they can do. But, the heat in New York would be immense. So as much as the Vancouver Canucks want to say, hey, we're okay without you, he's got a lot of pressure. Like, this is a big October game, Cam? Is that such a thing?
Must win October game? Yeah, maybe not quite that much, but you're absolutely right. And I mean, the writing was on the wall for this team. Like, when they made that JT Miller trade, it was like, this team is on the wrong side of the hill, and they're doing, they're purchasing win-now players. And now, Shesterkin has kind of been up and down the last couple of years. He's been pretty good this season, quite good at for moments too. It's like, it's the rest of the lineup that it's like, there's a lot of question marks on that roster. Panarin's got an expiring deal. Like, I don't know what they're going to do if this slide keeps going, because you're not really in a situation where they can properly sell anyways, because they have these big, long contracts attached to their roster too. So it's not pretty. They definitely need to fight their way out of this paper bag.
Question for you. JT is 32. He'll be 33 later this season. Is this just the natural beginning to the end for him, that his level was bound to slip because of age and miles on the body?
Yeah, Father Time remains undefeated, right? Like, we do see these freak shows like Crosby and Malkin and the true generational players that they're able to manage it into their late 30s. But by and large, even the star players, once they hit their early 30s, they're on the backside of the hill, and we start to see it decline. Now, what does he have? 6 points in 10 games. Is he going to be a 50-point player this season? No, he's probably going to boost up a little bit like that. I don't expect it to be a free-for-all. But yeah, it's 32, 33, 34. It's going to go down. And I think Canucks fans and the Canucks recognize that when they signed him to that deal too. With the cap forecast, they were hoping that $8 million wasn't going to be $8 million. It was going to be more like $6 million, which it probably will be. So they're going to be able to get some value out of that contract. But the back half of it was always going to be a little iffy. And I think we're just starting to see that slide now.
How do you think he's going to be received tonight by the crowd?
Probably not all that warmly. No, I don't imagine it's going to be a warm reception.
You think the boos beat out the cheers?
I think so. I think
Yeah?
there's going to be. I think I do. I think by and large in the fan base, it was probably more like a 50-50 split. I think that there's still a large contingent of fans that are still anti-Pettersson and think that he should have been the one who left. But I do, often the boos are louder just in general, right? The boo birds get out there and they get kind of worked up.
Well, Pettersson is showing.
Well, especially because Pettersson had the weekend that he had.
Right.
Like if Pettersson is
helpful.
mired in a slump, then I do wonder whether JT gets a warmer reception.
Well, because
tonight.
if he's still slumping, then it looks like JT wasn't the problem. If Pettersson does rise as a phoenix, it looks like JT was the problem, right? So Pettersson can do himself some favors here by having a big night and showing the crowd, yeah, he was the problem.
And that he's going to have that little extra motivation tonight too. And things are going well for Elias right now, which is great. It's massive for him. It's massive for the team, and obviously for the fan base getting back on board that train. But that he's going to be ready for this game too, because the last time they met at the Four Nations too, like he was kind of just a no-show at that tournament in general. And so this is kind of their first chance to really meet and play against each other. It's in Pettersson's rink. Like he's going to have some extra motivation too to show out and hopefully get those boo birds going for JT and get some cheers going on his end.
Plus, with this old Ranger lineup as a whole, can the Vancouver Canucks, dare I say, look fast? Like Heedle's been deleted, but you've added Sasson and Reichel who can skate, and everybody else seems to be playing with a little bit better pace. Is there a chance the Canucks can run this Rangers team?
No Quinn, really. Yep. That hurts. That hurts the speed in general. That hurts just getting the puck up the ice. So I hesitant to say that they'll be able to run around them too much, but they do have more speed, absolutely, than the Rangers do, who are built kind of more that heavy, break them down, playoff style team when they're at their best. I do think the speed and slightness of the Canucks could show up tonight, but I think it's going to be a bit of a battle. I think the Rangers are going to come ready to play. There'll be money on the board. There'll be money on the board.
Okay, let's talk about no Quinn Hughes, Cam. What do you think? Because Blake and I were talking yesterday that as much as he is the best player on the team, head and shoulders, they do have this deep defense core. I mean, it's got some injuries right now, but they should have the defense core and goaltending to mitigate a Quinn Hughes injury. Can you agree with me there?
Yeah, I think if there's any spot on this roster that can handle some injuries, it's on the blue line, and that was plain as day. They have legitimate depth. Even with Victor Mancini going down, who's supposed to be some of their depth. You have Kudryavtsev, Tom Willander. I spoke to somebody close to the situation. He came up. He was with the team this morning, getting ready for morning skate. There's some cap issues that they're trying to iron out before they can officially bring him up. I haven't looked at my phone. Maybe it's already happened. And we'll see if it's him or Kudryavtsev in the lineup tonight. But those young guys, they're going to have the adrenaline pumping, especially if it's Willander getting his first NHL start. And now you need your veterans. You need basically the entire roster to kind of, hug around these guys and make sure they're in the right situation to succeed. And if I'm Adam Foote and I'm running that bench, I'm talking to these kids and they're coming in and I'm saying, play your game. Don't try to change the way you play just because of the situation we're in and you're into the NHL now. No, don't just sit back. If you're a player who likes to rush up a little bit, go ahead and do that. But let's be smart about it. Let's pick our spots and let's have our guys back there that are defensively responsible. But you want to give them the freedom to play the game that got them to this level. And I speak mostly about Willander in that.
I think you're probably with everybody that, hey, it's a free trade in a lot of ways to get Lukas Reichel. At 23 years of age, you remember all the acclaim going into draft year. Could he be a success story with the Vancouver Canucks, or do you think you've seen enough that this is sort of what he is?
He could be a success story for sure. I mean, he's 23 years old. He has good speed, very good speed. He has good skill, but he's slight. He's not a center. He's a historically bad in the dot, historically, kind of off-puck habits haven't been there. Two-way effort hasn't been there. But, he's also shown capable of being like an offensive driver, a point-a-game player at the AHL level, at international, the World Championships. He often plays very, very well offensively too. But, he hasn't been much more than a replacement level player since, 22, 23. And all those things were kind of there as a draft eligible too. I think we had him ranked closer to 50 than where he went 17th overall at EP that year. And that was, it just the projection of what is he actually going to be at the NHL level. Is he going to be a top 6 wing? And that's probably a big ask for him. But I do think low risk, some reward here, that he could become a viable, speedy, offensively driven third liner. I think that is something that he could develop into. But right now, he's kind of being just placed in the middle because they don't have anything better at the moment. They have to go out and they have to find a true solution, especially if Hedl is, actually erased from this roster long term. And I should mention, I did kick around some things there. I was looking around for some names, and obviously Pavel Zacha has been a name that's been mentioned a ton. Asked about Kotkaniemi because they've been linked to him before. One player that did get mentioned to me a couple of times is Oscar Sundqvist in St. Louis. Again, not someone you would instantly think of as a second line center, but like a legitimate third line center who could maybe stopgap for you for pinches. So that's someone that maybe fans can keep their eye on too. Yeah,
tell me more about his game, Cam, and why he would be available.
Yeah, so Robert Thomas is injured right now in St. Louis, but when he's back, he becomes expendable if they believe Suter is a center long term for them. And we saw in Vancouver, in the last couple of years, it was kind of like iffy if he was a center or if he was a winger. But he's a big body guy. He wouldn't cost a ton for the Canucks. I had one source indicate that it shouldn't cost more than a second round pick, maybe even get him for a third if the Blues are convinced that they're going to lose him. So he's pretty good in the dot. He's a heavy body. He can put up some points at times, nothing outrageous, but he can contribute offensively. And he's just a sturdy guy that has played consistently in the middle of the ice. You can feel comfortable that he's not a replacement level player, which is basically what they're running down the middle behind Pettersson right now is quad A type guys.
Have you seen progress from Max Sasson this year? Talk to me, because he did score in the first 2 games as a Canucks, 3 goals as a Canuck in the NHL action, despite playing in the AHL. But talk to me about Sasson's progress this year.
Yeah, we talked about it last year too. He's a fun kid to root for, and not such a kid anymore. I guess he's not that young, but he has good speed. He has good tenacity, and at lower levels, he's shown that he can produce. I do think he is limited with his offensive upside at the NHL level, and I don't want to put a glass ceiling on anybody, especially when they're 24, 25 years old. But I don't see him really elevating out of a top 6 or a bottom 6 role in the NHL level. And if he can find himself and become like a competent everyday NHLer, I think that that's a big win for the Canucks in the spot that they got him for. And I think that that's a realistic outcome that could turn out for him.
It's been a few weeks, so forgive the datedness of this question, but I did want to pick your brain on Braden Coots, Cam. Not that he has been sent down to the Seattle Thunderbirds. I think we all expected that the last time we talked about Braden Coots. But with regards to just how competitive this Canadian World Junior team is, and I see Philadelphia sent Jet Luchenko back to his OHL team for the 2nd straight year after starting him in the NHL. He'll be a candidate for this Canadian World Junior side, as will all of these first-round centermen and forwards over the last few years. So talk to me about Coots as a Canadian World Junior, first just making the team, despite what he did in an NHL camp.
Yeah, I believe we talked about this in the summer at some point, and I said he was going to have an uphill battle. As an 18-year-old with this roster, this team, especially up front, is very, very deep. I mean, if they had access to all of the eligible players on the blue line, it would be incredibly deep on the blue line too, but they're not going to get most of those guys. But he did himself a big favor by making the Canucks out of camp. That alone has got Hockey Canada being like, this is a borderline NHL player right here, right? In the same mold as you're looking at Brady Martin. He got sent back too, but that's the same way. They're looking at him as, hey, that's a borderline NHL player. Really, I think it's going to hinge a lot on what happens with Misa, what happens with Berkeley Catton. I don't expect Misa to get sent back. I do expect Berkeley Catton to get sent back. So now you're looking at Catton, you're looking at Brady Martin, Jet Luchenko, Michael Hage plays in the middle of the ice sometimes too, and he's in blowing it up in the NCAA. There's a lot of really good players, but Caleb Desnoyers with that injury, I think that probably pushes him down and kind of bumps Coots maybe ahead of him too, especially if he has a good run here to start the season. So he's done a lot of good work and he's put himself in a good position. Now he has to go out on not a great Thunderbirds team and really kind of dominate and show that it's like, hey, even if I'm the 4th line center, you can trust me. If you need me to pop up and be the 2nd line winger, you can use me on your special teams. I can play that jack of all trades, that jackknife player. And that's what he is. He's a Swiss Army knife for Team Canada, and he's a leader, and he's got great speed. He's got great two-way stuff. So I think he's in a good spot, but it's not a lock, right? And that's tough to be in when you look as good as he does and you made the NHL roster at a camp. It's like, still not a lock, but this Team Canada team is going to be very, very deep.
Yeah, I can see that Swiss Army profile appealing to the Canadian hockey management and coaching staff, plus all the intangibles that we've talked about with Coots. And as for the Thunderbirds, he is getting his big defenseman back, Radim Murtka, who was returned to the Seattle Thunderbirds this week as well. And so he's got a playmate there in terms of a big defenseman who's going to keep the puck out of his own zone. So rooting for Coots in a very big way here to make that World Junior team. It's been a while since we've had Canucks on the Canadians.
Nice to have some CanCon.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. For sure. No, it'll be helpful for him for sure. And I do think he has a very good chance to make it. And yeah, we'll just have to see. It's gonna be a fun tournament in Minnesota, that's for sure.
Are you going?
I'm going, of course. Yeah, I wouldn't miss it.
Okay.
Are you excited for
So what you're going to do, Cam, this time around, we have learned our lesson, is we're going to get a lot of rest. We're going to be really big on the vitamin C the week into the tournament, right? Because you want that immune system kicking on all levels, my dude. And then once you're there, settled, got a good rest in, adjusted to the climate and time, then you go have yourself a couple of nights with the Latvians, okay? Because we all know there ain't no kind of party like a Latvian party.
Well, you've got a good rest day today. 16 NHL games, all staggered. If you're like us, you watched 7 hours of baseball last night. So why not 7 hours of hockey? Are you ready for that?
Why not? Oh, absolutely. And the World Series too. Like this is the best time of year, right? This is it for us right now. This is key. I love it.
Couch ass fusion.
That's right.
Exactly.
Biggest sports week of our lives right here, right now. Where else would you rather be? Thank you, Cam Robinson. You're a gem. We'll catch up next week. Feel better, bud.
Thanks, boys. Talk soon.
Harrison Price from the historic Wall Center. Well, Blake, as I mentioned yesterday, I watched Game 3 at the Nat, a great Vancouver Canadians tradition of inviting season ticket holders down to the ballpark to watch a World Series game. So I was there with all of our friends, Alan Bailey, Walter Kosman of the team, not to mention a bunch of other season ticket holders. There was one notable absence, though, and with good reason, because Tyler Zickel, the team's broadcasting, media relations manager, and, of course, play-by-play man par excellence, has been covering the Blue Jays on the West Coast in Seattle at the ALCS and at Dodger Stadium last night in the World Series. He joins us now from Los Angeles. How you doing, fella?
It was not a lot of sleep last night, boys, but for Harrison Price, I'd pull an all-nighter. A treat to be with you from the Airbnb in Glendale. Hey, I found out last night it's 10 minutes from Dodger Stadium if I leave after the traffic at 2 a.m. It's going to take me about 35 minutes to get to the ballpark today.
Yeah, the commute home was the best you're going to get in L.A.
That is just about as breezy as it gets in Los Angeles. Well, it's funny because I texted Tyler this morning before 8. I didn't hear anything. And I texted him about 9. And I think, maybe he's still asleep after that one. Tell us about your day, Tyler. When did you get to the ballpark? When did you get home? Run it down for us.
Yeah, pretty remarkable travel day yesterday. Woke up at home in Portland, Oregon, where my wife Kate and son Archer and I make our home when the Canadian season is over. Originally, my flight was scheduled for 7:45, but late the night before, they said it was going to be delayed to about 10:20. Ended up getting into the air at PDX at about 10:55. On the ground in LA at around 12:30. Took a bus to the baggage claim, then took another bus to the rental car, got the rental car, fought LA traffic all the way to Dodger Stadium, got there just after 3 o'clock. Thank goodness for media parking. So parked right by the gate, got my credential, went in and was expecting a thrilling 9-inning affair that maybe was 2 hours and 45 minutes or 3 hours. But once we got to today, October 28th, we just wrapped up the game just a few minutes prior. I was in the interview room with John Schneider and Dave Roberts and Freddie Freeman, the unfortunate hero for the Dodgers last night, at the start of today, which is pretty wild. So the entire experience, which we can go blow by blow through, was absolutely phenomenal. As a Jays fan, of course, it was a big bummer for the game to end the way that it did. But as a baseball fan, to be there for one of the craziest World Series games of all time and to watch Shohei Ohtani do what he's done, as much as it pains me to say, pretty marvelous.
What was it like being in the ballpark? Tell us, give us some of the sights, sounds, smells that was going on at Dodger Stadium, an iconic venue as this thing was going deep into the night.
Indeed. Well, the energy palpable. I've been to a few games in Dodger Stadium in my day. Of course, I'm a Padres fan growing up in San Diego. So it sort of felt like venturing into enemy territory. But the first thing I noticed, terrific contingent of Blue Jays fans. TBJ fans traveled so well in Seattle, of course. And I was thinking, okay, maybe we'll get a good little showing here in LA, but it's going to be Dodger heavy. Well, the Blue Jays fans really showed up. That was my biggest takeaway. Obviously, Dodgers fans, they've got a reputation for a reason. They were rowdy the entire night. And I thought the building was loud in Seattle at T-Mobile Park when Eugenio Suarez hit that grand slam. Oh my gosh, just when Ohtani comes up to the plate, let alone does something miraculous, that place absolutely shakes down to its, what is it now, 80-year-old roots, or 70-year-old roots. So to be able to just be a part of all of that and to just steep myself in the history of the building and the Fall Classic. And of course, MLB does a terrific job pulling out all the stops. You've got all the different crews. Of course, shout out to Sportsnet, but MLB Network, ESPN, you see all those luminaries as well. And then all the former big leaguers, CC Sabathia, Jimmy Rollins, Sean Green was there. So many others. Kenny Lofton was in the house last night. So just really cool to be able to just kind of be a sponge and take it all in. But it's, for a baseball fan, no better place to be.
How busy was the ballpark at the end, Tyler? How many people went home? What percentage full do you think it was by the 18th inning?
I would put it at about 80%. Of course, Dodgers fans notorious for arriving late and leaving early. I'll tip my cap to them, even though we posted on X in the 14th inning or 13th inning that, hey, we're here, but some of the Dodgers fans aren't anymore. And I get it. It's a school night. But at the same time, got to tip your cap. Most of the fans were there till the very end. In fact, I had a chance to sit behind the Dodgers dugout for a good chunk of the extra innings, and everybody was standing for every Dodgers at bat and groaning through every Blue Jays success. So certainly an all-time experience I'm going to remember forever.
Our boy Tyler Zickle rubbing elbows with Magic Johnson and Cookie by the Dodgers dugouts
Pat
in the
Sajak.
15th inning of Game 3 of the World. That's Sajak.
A lot of Canadian expats in LA, obviously, working in the industry, so it doesn't surprise me that there's a lot of those are probably residents of LA that are just
You're
Canadian Canadian expats. Dan Schomer was talking about that it's just like game ops inside Dodger Stadium is loud as well. They turned it up to 11 to steal the Spinal Tap reference there. Did you notice that it's just everything is loud there?
Yeah, 100%. Whether it's the sound system that is trying to get everybody pumped up, or the 4 on-field MCs that they employ hopping on, it's the World Series, Dodgers fans, you gotta make some noise. Even down to a guy who was associating himself with one of the mascots. He had this big drum out in center field, bang, bang, bang. So certainly not going to do any favors for my auditory longevity, but hey, you know, you got to arrive sort of at the end of the finish line all beat up. You're not trying to save this body forever, right?
Dalton Varsho had to make a bunch of long outs late in, early teens. I was going to say late in the game. I guess technically it was, but in the early teens of the innings. Do you think those are gone in the afternoon when the air is just a little bit warmer?
The warning track fly balls you're talking about. Yeah.
Like, are those home runs? Did the evening tamp those down, do you think?
Yeah, the Marine Layer was a Blue Jays fan last night.
Yeah.
The one that was for sure going to get out at any other hour earlier, even in the evening, let alone the afternoon, was that Will Smith shot. Of course, you heard the call if you were watching the American broadcast. Joe Davis thought it was gone too, and he had to kind of walk that back. You saw Will Smith do the bat drop thinking he had just won the game. I'll be honest, Freddie Freeman's game-winning home run, I did not think was gone off the bat, but of course my broadcaster training has trained me to watch the outfielder and not the ball. And
right.
So as I saw Varsho going, you could tell he was going to try and climb the wall, Kevin Pillar style. He knew it was going. So at that point, once I saw Varsho's kind of reaction out there, the game was over. But you got to tip your cap to Dalton running down not just some of those warning track balls, but a couple in the gap in extra innings as well.
Oh.
And I know the substitutions and the pinch hitters and pinch runners and all that, with hindsight, didn't look too great, but you got to play the game that's in front of you. And I think the only one that we can look back and say, was Addison Barger coming out of the lineup.
Yeah.
But again, you're playing the game in front of you. The moment I was hoping for was Miles Straw versus Roki Sasaki. I was hoping for Miles Straw to come through in the clutch right there so that we could say we won the Roki Sasaki International Bonus Pool Money Sweepstakes.
Yeah, there you go.
That's right. If you're not familiar, the Blue Jays traded for Miles Straw, took on the salary from Cleveland because it came with international bonus pool money they were hoping to spend on Sasaki. And later that day, he signed with the Dodgers. Tyler, we've been talking about it for the last month and a half. 4 ex-Canadians players as well as ex-Canadian skipper John Schneider are part of this baseball club. Addison Barger, Davis Schneider, Mason Fluharty, and of course Trey Yesavage. I know you go back with some of these guys. Talk to me a little bit about how much pride the C's are feeling these days watching all these alums play in the World Series.
This is really what it's all about, fellas. And after 11 seasons in minor league baseball, 8 seasons in the Blue Jays organization, and 5 seasons with the Canadians, this, for me, is a culmination, personally and professionally, of a lot of work that I've witnessed lots of these guys do over the years. Of course, as you guys know, I was in New Hampshire in 2018 working for the Fisher Cats in AA when Schneider was the manager. Vladdy and Bo were the top prospects at that time. That was really the year that they really became international prospect superstars. And so to see what happened then, and then to add in these former Canadians who are making an impact, and of course Trey Yesavage having the season that he's had, even without the postseason performances, this for me is what makes the juice worth the squeeze working in minor league baseball and working in the industry in general. Had a chance to give John Schneider a quick hug and hello during batting practice yesterday, waved to Addison, said hi to Mason Fluharty. Didn't see Trey yesterday just because of the timing, but I'm going to seek him out today. And also had a chance to show some love to Davis Schneider as well. So to be able to be just a micro, tiny little part of their journey, but get to say we knew them when, as good as it gets for me.
What do you make of this Trey Yesavage story? I mean, it was one thing to see him rise and start a game in the regular season, never mind become an anchor for the rotation in the playoffs. It is stratospheric, this rise, and the kid, like, you watch body language about if this person is able to handle the stage, and the guy was just 10 out of 10. It's just unbelievable for a kid his age.
Yeah, that motor, while it's running hot, it's running at a really cool temperature that allows him to stay even-keeled and steady no matter what goes on. In fact, we saw in Game 1 of the World Series when he ran into a little bit of trouble, guys of his age and of his lack of big league experience might falter or wilt in that situation, but Trey rose to the occasion. And to make a comparison to another former Canadian and another heralded pitching prospect who obviously is no longer in the organization, a guy like Alek Manoah, who's a little more emotional, a little more passionate, I'm not sure if that would play as well in the postseason as Ice Trey, as we've come to call him over the course of these last few months. So the fact that he's got the terrific physical talent combined with that personality and just that even-keeled demeanor, it's like the Blue Jays have captured magic in a bottle. And what makes it even more great for me, and I think for the Blue Jays, guys like Mark Shapiro and Ross Atkins, all of the troubles with the injuries for pitching prospects over the last 18 months, 2 years, to have a guy like Trey, drafted 20th overall just a year ago, rocket through the minors, stay healthy the entire way, and now contribute in some of the most important games in Blue Jays history. You can't script it any better, and that is what every prospect evaluator, GM, scout, team president, manager is looking for and hoping to have happen. Trey Yesavage is a literal best-case scenario.
I was still a teenager for 92, 93, so I didn't watch it with the scrutiny of, being in the business now as long as I have. But, guys, I've never noticed or watched with such a magnifying glass a World Series like this. The amount of deep breaths that I have noticed from player and manager, like John Schneider in the extras.
Did you see that with the one? Oh, my goodness. Did he have a big one there?
All the sighs and deep breaths from everybody. Dave Roberts, I'll give him credit. He looks pretty cool in his dugout. He's been there and done that, I guess. But everybody else, the magnitude of the moment was not lost on anybody.
Beauty of the sport, man.
Yeah.
Those tense moments.
That's why we play.
Yeah.
It's terrific. And I actually had a chance to chat with John after the second win in Seattle, whenever that was it a week ago? Time is irrelevant at this point in the postseason.
Yes.
And among many things that we chatted about, he was saying, first of all, isn't this cool? Just being here, being able to be the men in the arena and getting to put it out on the line. But he also made sure to tell me, Zick, this is hard. This is the hardest thing I have ever done.
He's making it look hard. He's making it look hard. Like you can tell he's under stress right now.
Yes, for sure. And, it's not lost on all of us that this is the first time that John Schneider has been in this position, the first time these Blue Jays players as a unit have been in this position. Of course, George Springer, a World Series hero, a postseason legend, and of course, that's just one guy. And so there is a little bit of Dodgers have been there before, Blue Jays, I don't want to say are playing with house money, but certainly considered the underdogs in this scenario. And so it was a great reminder last night, the power of the breath, and to be able to bring it in and bring it out and find that steady, even keel. And just reminds us all of why we're in this business. You two and me, we're in this because we love sport, we love competition, and we love these big moments. And we're just seeing it all on the biggest stage this week.
I'm delighted for Schneider. Blake and I used to do the show out at Nat Bailey Stadium on Friday nooners. Schneider was 31 years old, the youngest manager in Vancouver Canadians history. At one point in 2011, he had to take a leave of absence from the team and go back home. And you're sitting there going, okay, a 31-year-old manager, who knows? And to see him not only survive in the organization, but rise to the position of manager of the big league club, Tyler, and then to bring these guys together, because so many have said that this is one of the most tight-knit together, care for each other clubhouses they have ever been around, and I have to think that's a reflection of Schneider and just a good dude that he is. You know him better than us. Tell us about the man you know.
Good dude is no better way to describe John Schneider. As easygoing and affable as a manager that I've ever worked with. I'll go out and say it. He is to this day my favorite guy, though Brent LaValle and Jose Mayorga are really coming on strong over these last few years at the Nat. And so for John to not only have his personality, kind of putting his imprint on the club at the same time, he's also seen this organization through many iterations. Of course, he was a Blue Jays minor leaguer drafted out of the University of Delaware at the beginning of the 2000s. So he has been with this team for nearly a quarter century. And in a lot of ways, he's able to bring some of that past into the present while still understanding that this is a special group, this is a special time. And hey, 32 years between World Series appearances is nothing to sniff at. And we don't know if we're going to get there again. Of course, I say we like I'm suiting up and playing between the lines, but that's what fandom is about. And so to be able to have this guy, John Schneider, leading this team at this time, I'm not too crunchy, too woo-woo, but it does feel like a little bit of divine intervention. At least when I say divine, I mean the baseball gods. So for me, and again, I'll just be honest, I'm a little biased. John Schneider is a friend. No better person to be in this spot. Of course, he came up with Vladdy and Bo as well. And when you got your two superstars in with your manager like that, it's only going to bode well. And so John certainly has taken his licks over the last couple of years, especially last year. And some of the decision-making this year, I know, has certainly gotten a little bit of the ire of the internet. But nobody knows this team better than John Schneider does. And to be on the front lines, in the trenches with these guys, to borrow a tired military cliche, this is what he has been looking forward to for 25 years. And it's all playing out in person. Even putting in Brendan Little last night, of course, kind of had to, but you still got to go back to your guy and give him a chance to continue to get outs at the highest level. So for me, John Schneider, right guy, right spot.
Yeah, we'll see Yesavage again in Game 5. We saw Fluharty last night. We saw Schneider as a pinch runner last night. But, of course, Addison Barger is in the lineup most every night, Tyler. He had a toe dip in the Northwest League with the Canadians in 2021, and then he played more than half the season in 2022 with the C's when you were on the call. Tell us a little bit more about Addison Barger, the guy you knew then and the player we're seeing today.
Barger is on the short list of guys who can say they played Canadians home games on both sides of the border. Of course, he was with us for that last week of the 2021 season down in Hillsborough, and then joined the club for opening day 2022. And basically what we're seeing this year and in the postseason is what we saw in fits and starts in high A. Of course, that violent swing that is just so powerful. His ability to show off that cannon for an arm, whether it's from third base or right field. This is a guy who really is an all-around complete player and somebody who I think is finally getting the shine that he is due. Also off the field, just Addison, easy to talk to, quiet, a little bit on the shy side, but once you get to know him a little bit, great guy, always forthcoming with a smile, was always game for an interview, which of course, as the two of you know, is certainly a favorite trait of a player for media types like us. And so for Barger to hit 300 and to be among league leaders in RBI and home runs before he got to call to AA New Hampshire, we got to see what Addison Barger, Bam Bam Barger, was going to be, and now it's just all coming out as we expected, though I think nobody really could have circled just how good he could have been this year, kind of like Trey Yesavage. But to see Addison do his thing really has been a treat. And also had a chance to see his dad, both in Seattle, which is where the Barger family is sort of ancestrally from, and then also saw him last night at Dodger Stadium. He still tunes into Canadians broadcasts, even though his son is in the major leagues. So shout out to Addison's dad. And a shout out to the whole Barger family as well. It's one of the great stories of this postseason.
And we know that Dan Plesac is a massive Addison Barger fan.
What a call from Plesac.
He predicted a pinch hit,
home run,
something from Addison Barger. So.
Yeah, the other thing I'll say about Barger, Blake, as you know, I used to watch all the C's games sitting right beside Andy Dunn, the former C's president, Tyler, your old boss, who's got such a long history, not just on the business side, but on the baseball side in this sport. And he would sit there and he'd go, man, I hope they give this kid a shot. Now, Addison, Florida guy like Andy is, so I know he pulled for those types, but, a little stocky, maybe not a traditional defensive home. And Andy used to say to me, God, I hope the Blue Jays give this guy a shot because I think he'll redeem whatever opportunity.
I love that arm, too. It's
big time,
so good.
Big time. Tyler, absolutely delighted for you, my friend, to get a chance to be close to this down in Seattle, in Los Angeles. God knows you've put in your time covering the sport and in the Blue Jays organization and, of course, in our town with the C's. We missed you last night at the Nat, but delighted to see you and hear you today from Los Angeles. Enjoy games 4 and 5, my dude, and we will catch up down the road here.
Fellas, always a pleasure. I'll be sure to have a Dodger dog for each of you tonight. And shameless plug, if any Securus and Price fans want to follow along, I'm there tonight and tomorrow at Van Canadians across social media. We're going to try and give you a little POV. And we're going to see if we can battle guys like John Heyman and Tom Verducci and Ken Rosenthal to get some interviews today and tomorrow as well. I got a height advantage on Ken Rosenthal, so if
there you go.
I'm going to dunk it.
That's right. Tyler Zickle, everyone. Thank you, Tyler.
Cheers, fellas.
Securus and Price from the historic Wall Center and the Pacific Toyota Dealer Studio, built by Arbor Leach. You're louder when you're rested. Book your staycation here at the Wall, just minutes from the stadium and arena. Unlock that S&P rate. Call 604-331-1000. Some blackout date supply based on availability. Tied for the longest game by innings, the second longest by time, the most pitchers, pitches, batters, and runners left on base in World Series history. Quite a Game 3 for the Jays and Dodgers. The Canadian, Freddie Freeman, again plays the hero for L.A. with a dinger in the 18th to win it. Of course, he was a big hero for them last year when they beat the Yankees in the World Series. 703 World Series games, Blake, over the 121-year history of the baseball championship. So this game stands out even in a large sample.
Did you stay
I was fighting so hard, Blake. Honestly, when the Blue Jays didn't score in the top of the 18th, I turned over and I said, okay, the Dodgers are probably going to win it here. I'm done fighting this. And kind of heard the home run as I drifted off.
I was tempted to turn it off and just watch Jays in 300 the next day, but there was enough drama. But
300 would have been a good abbreviation of the game, actually.
Cut it in half. As the game wore on, I think all Jays fans were in this boat. There became fewer avenues to victory.
Oh yeah, with that lineup in particular. I mean, LA had most of their starters in, and not to mention
Is John Schneider being outcoached?
Well, okay, so let's get into it.
Yeah.
The missed call from the home plate umpire in the top of the second with Dalton Varsho at bat, Bo Bichette on first base. That's getting a lot of grief from Jays fans as it led to a very bizarre out on the base pass.
Yes.
I'm not sure I've seen that before. Now, the ball is up and out of the strike zone, and it's called a strike, as the Super 70s account joked. The ball was higher than Snoop Dogg at Willie Nelson's birthday party.
It was also a late call, period.
The strike signal comes relatively quickly, but apparently the oral call was not as definitive. Quote, very delayed call, pretty deliberate, just didn't say anything, so Varsh assumed it was a ball and Bo assumed. Those were the words of John Schneider, Jay Skipper, to Fox's Ken Rosenthal during the broadcast. Now, part of the blame is on Varsho for, pantomiming a walk, tossing the bat, shedding the elbow pad.
You're fooling your teammate at that point.
That's right.
Yeah.
It is Bichette's responsibility to know the call and stay on the base. There is plenty of time to mosey on down to second base if it is a walk. So I hear Blue Jays fans on that one, but I don't necessarily. Look, you're going to have missed balls and strikes. It happens every game.
Yeah.
So you've got to be able to deal with that. It's also, Blake, it's the second inning. You've got so much game left, right? It's 1 out of 27.
And if we're talking outs on the base pass, was it a couple of innings later, Barger throws out, was it Freeman? Freeman at home plate. So at that point, you're like, okay, 2 should-be runs are thrown out very deep in the base paths.
Yeah. It's for me, though, you're still a long way to go before you're calling Bo Bichette a should-be run.
Well, when you see the hits that come later in that inning, you just kind of push him around, right?
I know, but everything. There's a runner on second, everything changes.
What I'm saying is, the woulda, coulda, shouldas, very early on, are canceling each other out.
Yeah. Now, the Jays pitching to Ohtani, who already had a dinger and 3 extra base hits with a 1-run lead in the 7th, that's on the skipper. And that's also on Sir Anthony Dominguez, who throws a down the middle look where that pitch is located, Blake. You can't do that with Ohtani. So he homers to tie the game.
I hear that, but I will counter with the fact that I think he came into the game hitting 217.
He did, but he's on a heater that night.
That night, for sure, yes.
Now, they sent Vladdy on that Bichette single in the 7th and somehow got away with it.
Oh, my God. In the funniest home plate slide you will ever see.
Now, sending Davis Schneider in the 10th inning, and he gets thrown out at the plate, that one I think deserves a little more scrutiny. Now, I texted our old friend Terry McKegg, Blake, architect of the UBC baseball program. I said, what do you think? And he goes, well, Schneider is your pinch runner, right? Like, he's supposed to be faster than Ty France. That's why you put him in. And the ball does get to the fence. And it's Teoscar Hernandez, who can sometimes be an adventurer in the outfield. But the bottom line is, he's out by a country mile, Blake, at home plate.
Not close.
Everyone is saying Vladdy is on deck. You got to hold him. Okay, but they're going to intentionally walk Vladdy. So it's Isaiah Kiner Falafa.
With the bases loaded.
That's right.
Fabulous has been aggressive throughout here at third, waving guys home.
Yep.
He is very aggressive.
Perfect relay throw by Tommy Edman, but Tommy Edman had some perfect plays last night. Just superior defensive baseball from him.
You wonder if John Schneider, though, talks to Fabulous and says, okay, I think we just go 1 notch back from where we have been with regards to aggression.
And that brings us to the substitutions. Well, not much you can do about George Springer, who pulls himself out of the game with an injury. Bo Bichette already out of the game because he's nursing an injury and you want a pinch run for him. Fair enough. But the pinch runner for Alejandro Kirk, and I know he's not a good runner.
Addison Barger? Why? What's wrong
and
with his
Miles
running?
Straw as a slight upgrade on the base pass and defensively on Barger, albeit not an upgrade on arm strength, obviously.
Right. Like that is Miles Straw looks like he's 11 years old and can't get the ball out of the infield.
So that neuters your lineup throughout an extra innings. You have the poor base running. You have the poor hitting with runners in scoring position. It turns out to be 11 straight scoreless innings for the Blue Jays.
And
11.
And as a result, you had a lot of innings where you're like, okay, you just got to get through these 3 batters and then survive the next inning so that you can get Vladdy and Varsho up again. Like, it was Vladdy and Varsho, and that's it.
Well, that became the game.
Yeah.
Is when is Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Freeman up for the Dodgers versus
Varsho
when
and
is
Guerrero.
Lucas Varsho and Guerrero up for the Jays. Now, Kiner Falefa getting thrown out at third in the 9th inning. For me, that is forgivable. I saw a lot of people saying, yeah, but Sasaki could not throw strikes, so hold them. And with that Sasaki splitter, maybe the ball gets away and you can score on a wild pitch or a pass ball. I hear what you're saying. That ball is absolutely scorched down to the first base line.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised it deadened it as much as it did when it hit Freeman's glove. The other thing is, that ball is in nearly an impossible place for IKF to pick up, and I'm damn sure the stadium is too loud for him to hear anything from his base coaches.
Yeah.
So for me, that was a forgivable one. Nathan Lucas swinging at 3 straight balls with the bases loaded in the 12th, that was not forgivable and very out of character for a guy who takes very intelligent at-bats and knows the strike zone.
It got a little bit better later in the teens. Which is not something you normally say later in the teens innings, but from like the 9th, well, really from the 5th to the 15th, I did not think the Jays batters were very discerning, and they are known for their discernment and walks, and you know, then that was a critical one where he was not very discerning then either. But I thought their bats were not very good on the whole last night, and they did not force the issue for the starter. For Robleski had a really easy time of things as well. Like
LA gets down to their final pitcher in Will Klein. There was an outlandish report that the Dodgers would go with a position player on the mound, like Tom Verducci. I mean, it just made no sense. Like, you throw Will Klein until his arm falls off.
Yeah.
You don't care about his availability today. Frankly, you don't care about his availability going forward. This is the last guy in your bullpen. He wasn't on previous playoff rosters. He's been released by 3 teams. He started the year in the minors. Like, he was going to pitch until the cows come home, if you ask me. Yamamoto went out to the bullpen to warm up. The Game 2 starter who had just finished 100 pitches.
They had a shot of the pitching coach and Roberts talking there in the dugout. The pitching coach on the phone with the dugout. This is as Yamamoto has already been warming up for some time, and who knows what he was shaking off Roberts with, but the pitching coach can be seen saying no, and like sort of like it gave the inference of he's nowhere close, he's not ready, like this is not an option right now for Yamamoto. So it was Klein until Klein crawled off the field.
Yeah, and give him credit. He Cowboys up. 4 scoreless innings. Terrific story. Shohei Ohtani on base 9 times. It's a new Major League Baseball postseason record, and frankly, it's going to stand as baseball's record for its next 120 years. It'll be a long time before you see a player on base 9 times in a World Series game, and we'll just end with this. Boston lost the longest game in World Series history 7 years ago. Went on to win the World Series.
It hardened them, sharpened them.
Fresh off their dominant 3-0 win before a playoff record crowd of 32,066, the Whitecaps head back to training here for Game 2 in Dallas on Saturday. They will get center back Matias Laborda back from his red card suspension. They are also really hoping that striker Brian White is ready to go after missing the last 5 games, including the Game 1 victory. Now, how much will midfielder Ryan Gauld play after re-aggravating that kneecap injury, and how much can you get out of center back Jodrik Pupa after he plays just 10 minutes in his Caps debut on Sunday? Blake, what do you think?
Well, I'm really thankful if I'm the Whitecaps for the schedule. Like they've got the spacing is really nice. Like there's a lot of
6 days off, then 6 days off if necessary.
Yeah, there's a lot of series that have, because of built-in availability and
6 days between games,
have had like 5-day and 4-day breaks in between games. So like this is spaced out perfectly for a team that's ailing as much as the Whitecaps are. I would guess that outside of Laborda coming back in, probably at center back, unless they loved what Pupa gave them in the 10-11 minutes that he showed them. They could go to Pupa as a center back and put Laborde in for Tate Johnson as well, I suppose. But I would think that's a little rash. I bet you it's just Laborde for Priso, and they just go with the similar lineup, and they try to work in guys like White and Blackman late in the match.
Yeah.
I would guess.
You got a little bit of house money here, so
Yeah.
Caps advance. Go ahead.
The attendance, by the way, just a few hundred away from being the highest attended in the opening round thus far. Like
This season or
yeah, this season, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like, you know, you think about these Whitecaps, their reputation, the fact they're for sale, or part of them is for sale. At the very like, who would think? And head office, MLS head office, watching all this, going, our highest attended playoff game right now is the Village of Vancouver there, and that's it.
yeah.
Like,
Well, and they've done the biggest crowds in regular season history with the Messi games and the Beckham game going,
Yeah.
right? If the Caps advance, they play the winner of LAFC in Austin, who they only get going tomorrow. Their game one is tomorrow.
That's
it's
right.
the latest on the
Yeah. and that's a
schedule.
small stadium, so they're not going to better you folks.
Yeah. Caps also being linked to Randers FC striker Mohamed Toure. He's an Australian. He's playing in the Danish Super League, so you would think that Jesper Sorensen knows this player. Glass City is speculating that might he replace Daniel Rios once the loan expires. Here's the bad news. LAFC, CF Montreal, as well as Chelsea and Strasbourg of the French League have also been linked to Toure of Australia. So something funny happened on the way to massive CFL rule changes. The 2025 season ended with scoring yards and close games up, and that may make life uncomfortable for new CFL Commissioner Stu Johnston on Grey Cup week, as he's asked to further defend his vision for the 12-man game with sweeping new rules that will lead to different strategy and gameplay. 53.6 points per game this year in the CFL. That is the highest in 2 decades. 5.4 touchdowns per game, also the highest in 2 decades. A record touchdown percentage in the red zone at 61.6%. 1.83 points per drive, the highest in CFL history. 50% of games decided in the final 3 minutes. Scoring is up roughly 14% since 2022. That's when they moved the scrimmage line up to the 40-yard line after field goals and singles. And they moved the kickoffs back to the 30-yard line. And then there's the BC Lions, who set a CFL record for yards per play this season at 8.04. Mike's got the graphic here. It is better than the Doug Flutie-led teams in BC, Calgary, and Toronto. It is better than the Anthony Calvillo-led teams in Montreal. It is better than the Edmonton 5-in-a-row Grey Cup teams of the late 70s, early 80s. In fact, they eclipsed a record from the 1960s Argos.
If they want to make these changes for, like, if they said all the stuff about, you know, creating offense and more exciting plays and all that stuff, but really it's just about geography, that they want a smaller field for stadium needs and all that sort of stuff, they should just come out and say it then.
Yeah.
And you know what? I don't know that
So
he would make it less right, though.
here's the thing, though, Blake. For many in this country, there was nothing wrong with the product, only the image of the CFL.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going at the product in a big and massive way. Remember, they bypassed the rules committee, guys. So, like, if you come out with a league that is played and strategized differently with less scoring, less big plays, oh, man, I can...
Okay, here.
I'm starting to get a little bit nervous about all of this.
Workshop this for me. How is it going to have? It may not. It may address a problem that isn't there in terms of scoring.
I think that is the case.
But
I also think
argue with me. Tell me how it's going to negatively impact.
Well, you're going to see fewer touchdowns because of the shorter end zone. That the space you've created in the middle of the end zone by pushing the goalpost back does not offset, let alone offset and beyond, the space you're losing at the back of the end zone. You're going to see fewer made field goals because the uprights are way back.
Okay, so if the end zones are still oversized by comparison to the NFL.
But fans are now looking at these games and going, another touchdown that won't count in 2 years. Another touchdown that won't count in 2 years.
That's not a clear line because they're just working with
the
the
space
space
if it's
given.
in the final 5 yards of the end.
They're working with the space given to them. But I do wonder if, yes, in the initial, field goals might go down. But here's the thing that might happen, and that should happen in this league. There should be a lot more third down gambles.
You hope, Blake, but again, that's in the hands of coaches who tend to be a more conservative lot and see a value in field position that audience members and league executives probably do not. So much of this now is going to be on coaches and how aggressive they are willing to get. Otherwise, I think you're going to see more punts, fewer field goals, of course, fewer missed field goal returns, which is an exciting play, and possibly fewer points. I just hope we're not so narcissistic that we are absolutely wedded to this idea, find no fault with our methodology, and are unwilling to be flexible going forward if it proves to hinder the product.
Let me ask you this.
That's what I'm hoping.
Leagues in every sport have made profound changes at various points in their thing.
Pitch clock, 3-point line were massive changes, and for the better.
Tell me the league that made a huge rule change or a group of rule changes and regretted it down the road.
And I can't, Blake, but again, I can't tell you a league that did so by bypassing its rules committee and basically nixing its football or gameplay experts out of the process.
I'll also say this, though, Matt. The CFL, because of the nature of its underdog stigma, the little league that could, I think inherently comes with it protectionism and conservatism for evolution. And because they've been stung by American...
Well, it's got to be a different product, Blake. If it's not a different product, then you're just the minor leagues for the NFL. And as we have talked about in the past, you cannot go to NFL rules, dimensions, because the quarterbacking isn't good enough. That's why the UFL and all these startup leagues fail. The quarterbacking is not good enough to complete passes within the dimensions of that short field.
That's about width, and the width is not changing.
It's about width to some degree. Well, it's mostly about width. It's also a little bit about length.
Well, Matt, you could argue the shorter
you've
field
got
is better
motion,
for that.
Of course, in
for
the CFL.
lack of quality quarterbacks, you could argue the shorter field is better for
because
scoring.
the deeper you have available to you, the more the defense has to account for that space, which opens things up underneath. Anyways, we'll see where this goes. All I know is Stuart Johnson has some uncomfortable data that he is going to have to explain here as the playoffs
I'm just saying,
go on.
as we become grumpy old guys, we've got to make sure that we're not just grumpy old guys and saying change
and
sucks.
Blake, I told you I was up for a refresh and I was open to ideas. But now the season has come and gone, and actually the product was pretty darn good.
Yeah, but it wasn't last year. And the year before.
Scoring's been up scoring's been up since 2022 here. So I'm not, my concern, my protest, if there is one, and again, I'm not wholly against this, but I do have my concerns, is not about being a grumpy old guy. It's about rule changes that are going against the curve of the data that shows this was a more entertaining league this year and has been for several years. You made a change in 2022 with the kickoffs and the line of scrimmage line that has worked beautifully. Practice facility news too, only with the Lions. City of Surrey approves a framework on a downtown entertainment district. It's anchored by a 10,000-seat arena. We've talked about this in the past. The project calls for retail, restaurants, hotel tower, guest rooms, ballrooms, meeting space, conference, blah, 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 blah. The renderings show the district would completely replace the BC Lions training facility, plus that adjacent soccer field and some of the features at Tom Binney Park, where the recreation center.
The Lions just lease that, do they?
They lease that. It's up in 2027. Dwayne Vinneau telling the Daily Hive, "We know that they like us. They want us to continue to call Surrey home. We like being there, and we're confident we will find a solution for a new facility. There's other places that you could build a new practice facility around if we had to get displaced. We're pretty confident there's a solution there. if that's what ends up happening.
So it's a big moment. I mean,
This is Mayor Locke's big entertainment project. Remember, she was going to have a 10,000-seat arena for a football team. No, she initially did name check football.
She's a big Arena 3 fan, you know.
AFL.
Dwayne's the right guy to get this job done, but it's a big responsibility on his shoulders because they have been an anchor there for
just
eternity.
reading between the lines, it sounds like, okay, if you're going to pick us up and move us, you got to work with us on a site and help.
Yeah,
with the new
and the city of Surrey doesn't want that on their hands. Of they just booted the Lions and didn't want to play ball with them.
Well, here's the other thing. This is a sweeping big space where you're trying to attract people. BC Lions practices do attract people. They're open to the public.
Yeah.
And you do get people who stop by on their jogs or as they're walking their dogs or just football fans. I mean, maybe there's an element there where you can just turn them into a dog and pony show within your big
I was going to say
entertainment
district. In their current setup, because just of what's around them right now, while that you're right, that still happens, they are a little bit hidden still all the same. If you put them in a spot where they are absolutely the dog and pony show, a la us at the Sheraton Wall Center, you like it's a bragging rights thing. We're the home of the BC Lions. The Lions are right here. You know, like you just show them off.
As it relates to us in our glass storefront here at the lower lobby level of the North Tower Wall Center, who's the dog and who's the pony?
I don't know. I just wish they could feed us like zoo animals.
I think you're the show pony.
Yeah, I really dressed for it.
Redwoods Golf Course poll question results from Monday asked you biggest Canucks story this weekend. The Hughes injury, Pettersson back, or Kiefer Sherwood. The winner is...
Kiefer Sherwood.
No. Finished third. 27%. Petey back 46%. Hughes injury 28%. Calling and planning for now. Pettersson's play. The Hughes injury will be bigger if it turns out to be long-term and not a day-to-day as we are led to believe. Hassan from Burnaby. Patterson, he's going to be the reason this team sinks or swims this season. Thomas says, I need to find a larger sample size of games stacked together before Pettersson's back.
That's fair,
and that's
too.
Very fair. I do not have an error or an omission from yesterday.
No?
So we say thank you for spending some time and joining the program. Please do subscribe to all our assorted channels, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast. Follow on social. That's X, Insta, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky Live on May. Those platforms, noon Pacific time weekdays. And, of course, support the community sponsors you hear us talking about. Keep it local.